The arena lights glared down on a man lying completely motionless. The referee was waving his arms wildly, but nobody was looking at him. Every eye in the building was locked on a 5'7" wrecking ball pacing a neutral corner. DeAngelo Evans had just delivered a knockout so violently perfect, the crowd went dead silent before they started screaming. He was undefeated. He was untouchable. He was being hailed as the terrifying reincarnation of a young Mike Tyson. But within 24 hours of his greatest victory, his entire reality burned to the ground. The applause was replaced by a massive digital lynch mob. The California State Athletic Commission stepped in, handing down a severe, devastating suspension. Overnight, the future king of boxing was locked out of the ring and branded a criminal. But to understand how he fell so fast, you have to look at the massive, terrifying lie the internet built around him. A lie he never even asked for. If you watched him walk to the ring, you believed the myth. You couldn't help it. He did not fight like a modern athlete. He fought like a predator who hadn't eaten in weeks. When he trapped Adam Tomlinson in 2022, it was supposed to be a standard professional match. Instead, it became a public execution. The bell rang, and Evans immediately cut off the ring. He didn't throw feeling out jabs. He threw combinations with bad intentions. He slipped every punch with flawless, violent head movement. He dug hooks into Tomlinson's ribs that sounded like a baseball bat striking wet leather. Tomlinson tried to retreat. He tried to survive, but Evans pivoted. He cut the angle, and he dropped him. The referee had to step in just to save a man's life. People watched that fight and felt a chill run down their spine. He was making professional fighters look entirely helpless. When he fought Giovanni Gutierrez, the man known as Babyface had a carefully crafted game plan. It evaporated in exactly one round. Evans stalked him, unloaded a heavy shot, and Gutierrez simply stopped defending himself. His spirit broke before his body did. Opponent after opponent stepped through the ropes. Opponent after opponent woke up staring at the arena ceiling. At that point, it looked like nobody on earth could stop him. He was untouchable, unbreakable. He looked exactly like a young Mike Tyson. He fought exactly like a young Mike Tyson. And that is exactly when the internet decided to hijack his entire identity. We live in an era that is completely obsessed with trauma. A devastating knockout isn't enough anymore. The public demands a tragic anti-hero. They want blood in the ring, and they want blood in the backstory, because DeAngelo Evans looked like the reincarnation of Iron Mike. The internet decided he needed Tyson's exact life story. Social media algorithms went to work. Bloggers, TikTokers, and YouTube channels started weaving a dark, cinematic narrative. They claimed Evans was swallowed by the ruthless foster care system in Durham, North Carolina, at 5 years old. They said he grew up bouncing from home to home. They said he lived on the streets, fighting just to survive the freezing nights. And then, the ultimate tragedy was fabricated. To perfectly mirror Mike Tyson's life, the internet created a rumor that Evans' mother was tragically killed in a brutal car crash when he was just 16 years old. The digital world painted him as a lone, angry orphan, unleashing his unresolved grief on anyone foolish enough to step inside the ropes with him. The tragedy was perfect. It was intoxicating. It was exactly what the fans wanted to hear. There was just one massive problem. Not a single word of it was true. DeAngelo Evans was not a street orphan fighting for his life. The darkest secret of the most terrifying man in boxing was actually completely ordinary. He was raised in a stable, loving family. His mother was never killed in a car crash. In fact, she is alive, and regularly sits ringside to support her son. While millions of people online were sharing heartbreaking tribute videos about her fake death, she was physically sitting in the front row watching her son throw hooks. He didn't grow up fighting for his life in the gutters of Durham. He went to a normal high school, He went to college. He was a highly successful collegiate wrestler, the savage street brawler who supposedly fought to escape the hood. He used to wear a FedEx uniform and deliver packages. It was a normal, honest adult job. He didn't discover boxing to escape the criminal underworld. He literally walked into a boxing gym during college breaks because he was bored. He just wanted to stay in shape and keep himself busy so he wouldn't do anything stupid with his free time. That was the reality. But reality doesn't get millions of views on social media. So the internet completely erased the college wrestler who delivered FedEx packages. They replaced him with a phantom, a fictional street monster born from their own sick imagination. And that was an incredibly dangerous game, because when you build a monster in the public eye, the public eventually wants to see that monster destroyed. The illusion was fully set. The trap was laid. The breaking point arrived in May 2026. The critics were starting to ask questions. Could this savage handle elite competition? Cesar Villarraga was supposed to be the answer. A former Olympian from Colombia, a defensive mastermind, a man brought in specifically to expose young, overhyped prospects. This was supposed to be a grueling, agonizing test. The opening bell rang. Evans walked out with the cold, dead eyes of an executioner. He threw combinations that barely missed. He backed the Olympic veteran into the ropes. Then, in the second round, it happened. A left hook, no setup, no jab, no feint. An explosion of violence completely out of thin air. Villarraga never saw it coming. He dropped like he had been shot. The arena erupted. A one-round, one-minute demolition of an Olympic-level veteran. It was a knockout of the year candidate. It was supposed to be his official coronation. But the internet had already decided he was a criminal, and they were about to use his greatest victory to completely ruin him. Power like that doesn't just intimidate opponents. It creates deep, irrational paranoia. When a fighter with no amateur boxing background destroys a master tactician with one punch, people refuse to believe it's natural. Hours after the fight, a single video was posted online, a slow-motion clip of the devastating knockout. The caption read, "He had melatonin in his gloves." It was a simple joke, a metaphor meaning his punches put men to sleep. But the internet is a dangerous, uncontrollable machine. Because the public had already been fed the fake story that Evans was a street-hardened thug, they were completely primed to believe he was a cheater. Within hours, the context completely vanished. The metaphor was taken literally. Casual fans started sharing the video in a panic. He had something in his gloves. He loaded his wraps. He used a banned substance to drug his opponent. The rumor caught fire. It mutated into a massive digital conspiracy. The boxing forums exploded. Pundits started asking questions on camera. How did a 5'7" kid generate that much force? The public mob demanded answers. And then, the worst possible thing happened at the worst possible time. The California State Athletic Commission issued an official public bulletin. DeAngelo Evans was officially suspended. The ruling was absolute. He was banned from all competition until November 25th, 2026. The timing was catastrophic. To the internet mob, the state paperwork was the ultimate smoking gun. It was a confirmation of guilt. The sports world instantly declared him a fraud, a cheater, a criminal who rigged his gloves to steal a legacy. The momentum he had spent years bleeding for was instantly paralyzed. His name became completely toxic. Overnight, the champion traded his crown for a public execution. He was trapped in mandatory exile. He was forced to watch his empire crumble from the outside. But the most tragic part of this entire collapse, the world was burning an innocent man. The great boxing scandal of 2026 was a complete, pure fabrication. The truth was buried beneath millions of furious, panicked social media posts. The gloves were perfectly clean. There was no tampering. There was no illegal substance. The melatonin was nothing but a stupid meme. It was created by fans who were terrified of a man who just happened to be incredibly strong. And that highly publicized state suspension, it was never a punishment. It was a routine, everyday medical mandate. In professional boxing, when a fighter engages in high-impact trauma, the Athletic Commission enforces a strict, mandatory rest period. They suspend the fighter to protect their brain, to let their body heal before they fight again. It happens to almost every fighter after a major bout. The state didn't suspend DeAngelo Evans because he cheated. They sidelined him because standard safety protocols demanded it. He won the fight completely clean. He passed every single test. He did absolutely everything right. He was punished purely for being too dangerous. The internet literally invented a crime to explain the sheer, terrifying force of his fists. But the truth didn't matter. The damage was already done. Now he is sitting in the dark, serving a suspension for a crime he did not commit. Watching casual fans drag his name through the mud based on a fake tragedy they themselves created. He is forced to sit in silence. For months he cannot step into the ring. He cannot defend himself. He is trapped inside a digital prison, waiting for November 25th to arrive. The isolation is crushing. He never asked to be Mike Tyson. He never asked for a fake, tragic backstory. He just wanted to hit people and go home. But society doesn't let athletes just be athletes anymore. We claim we want our fighters to be superhuman. We beg them to give us violent highlights we will never forget. But the moment they actually look superhuman, we panic. We immediately look for a reason to destroy them. Raw talent is just a down payment in this sport. Surviving the toxic venom of the public eye is the true cost of greatness. DeAngelo Evans proved he has the power to conquer any man standing in front of him. His physical tools are absolutely devastating, but the true test of a champion isn't how hard you can hit another man's body. It's how you handle the entire world trying to break your mind. The fans stole his identity. The internet stole his reputation. The Athletic Commission temporarily took away his ring. Everything he worked for was hijacked by a narrative he never controlled. When the suspension finally lifts and he takes that long walk back under the arena lights, what version of DeAngelo Evans will step through the ropes? Will the anger of a false conviction and a stolen identity consume him and leave him reckless? Will he try to destroy the opponents simply to punish the crowd? Or will the man accused of having melatonin in his gloves smile, step into the center of the ring, and calmly put the entire super lightweight division to sleep?